welcome to another week of Unleashing Your Brilliance. Today, I'm going to talk about a topic that's really close to my heart, especially as we wrap up one year and we look forward to the next. You see, I've just spent this last week planning out my calendar for the upcoming year. Every single important date, family event, school commitment, school holiday, public holiday, personal development commitment, it's all in there. And I have to say, having all these critical pieces mapped out gives me such a clear and transparent view of my capacity for the year ahead. It's also incredibly empowering because now I'm not just squeezing life around business. I can actually now build my business plan with complete clarity on my priorities, my goals, and my availability. And over these last few days, I've been sharing this bottom-up calendar planning approach with many of my clients, and they're absolutely loving it. Many of them have already said that it's transforming the way that they see the year ahead, shifting from a just another busy calendar and oh my God, I got so much to do, to a year that's actually designed with purpose and intention. And so what I thought I would do is share it here too for you, because I know that some of you listening into this podcast will find this life first approach incredibly useful. So what I'm going to do today is I want to take you through each step of the process of how I've approached building my calendar for the upcoming year. And I want to show you how designing a life first business doesn't just make room for the things that matter. It actually makes your business stronger and more sustainable. Imagine setting up a year where you're fully present for the big moments, where your energy fuels your goals, and where your strategic plans, your strategy, everything that you put in place, where profitability aligns with the life that you want to live. If that sounds appealing, then this is the episode for you. So let's get started. So here's a confession. I used to plan my year like most people do. My year would evolve quite accidentally. I'd fill it up with work commitments, with deadlines, with meetings, with client projects. And then I'd hope that there'd be a little space left for family, some friends, and myself. But actually what ended up happening is it left me feeling exhausted and empty. Often I was running on autopilot. My business, my career was actually running my life, and I was just going through the motions. And actually, at worst, I've been missing out on those important moments in my life, the family commitments, the children commitments, the capacity in my calendar to actually do stuff for me. And that's when I decided to flip it. Now, the first step to a life first business is really to rethink how we actually approach the calendar. And instead of asking, how can I fit my life around my business? I want you to flip it and think about, I wonder how I can build my business around my life. This shift isn't just liberating. It's actually the secret to a fulfilling life. It's a secret to life and business by design. And I want to show you how I've been doing this for myself over this last week. And I want to show you how I do it so you can maybe do it for yourself as you start planning into next year. So the first thing I do is I plan around moments that matter. So I essentially wipe my calendar clean. And the first thing I put into my next 12 months are the moments that matter. Before I even think about projects or client work, I map out those moments, those non-negotiable dates that actually make life meaningful. For me, this includes every single member of my family's birthdays, my immediate family. So my birthday, Jason's birthday, the kids, Flynn, Tara, and Carter, I lock a day into the calendar and I do not work on that day. The other things I put in are holidays that we want to take. I put in any school events. And yes, I also put in any time for myself. I call these like my life anchors. They're the core memories. They're the heartbeat. They are behind why actually I'm doing the work that I'm doing. And think about it. How many times have you been heads down in a project? You've been pushing through. Things have gone into your calendar. And actually what you found is you've been missing out on those important family events or even those personal milestones. I've been there. I've missed school plays. I've missed sports days. I've been working on my birthday because of a client meeting that went in. And you know what? It absolutely crushed me. So that was my wake-up call, and no more. These days, those dates, those important dates, are the first thing I lock into my calendar. I want you to imagine sitting down with your calendar and starting with your life. What would change if you made those precious moments your non-negotiable? Now, word of warning, make sure you don't forget your public holidays here and your school breaks if they apply to you. You know, these dates, which we often take for granted, are actually really essential to plan around. They are almost like the natural rhythm, the natural cadence, the rest points in our lives that actually can help us recharge and reconnect with the people who matter most. And often because we forget to put these in our calendar, we're unable to take advantage of that natural cadence within our calendar. So I always put in the public holidays. You know, these are the holidays that offer that chance to pause together as a community, as a family. And I think about how restorative these are, those extra days around the weekend where you can take a break from routine, where you can connect with friends, where you can do things that aren't in your everyday. And when we acknowledge these days as non-negotiable, it gives us that time to be able to regroup. It's that mental reset. So I block out the public holidays. So I make sure I'm present and I've got that chance to reset. The school holidays I also put in, and interestingly, I've been doing this for years now. 2 of my children are no longer at school. I've only got 1 at school, but I still put in the school holidays because for me, they're the natural cadence throughout the year, because you've got time on when they're in school and then essentially the time off when they're on holiday. So I still operate my work cadence around the school holidays. Now, if you're a parent and you have the same commitments, I think it's really important to build these in, because these breaks can be that really essential family time, whether it's for a vacation, to actually go on holiday, or simply that freedom to just be more present. And planning your business around these dates helps you avoid that constant tug of war between trying to manage school holiday, trying to manage family life, trying to manage work life. And I know from experience that one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself is that uninterrupted time. Now, I equally appreciate that depending on where you're at in your business, it could seem quite hard to get the entirety of the school holidays off. Only this week, I was advising a client of mine who set off building her own business so she could be on school holidays, and yet she's realized she hasn't taken any school holidays off. I suggested to her for this next coming year to, if there's 2 weeks of school holiday, to plan in 50% of work time during the first week. So instead of working from, 8 till 5, put in that she is out of office until 10 a.m. and finish at 3. So shortening her time in those school holidays. And the second advice I gave was take 1 week fully off. So think about hybrid if you want to, but the most important thing is that these school holidays you can plan in. This is where you can create those memories. This is where you can be present. And if we integrate these into our schedule, we're not only preventing those conflicts and that added stress that we often put ourselves in if we are working parents, but it's also given us that gift of creating memories with our family. So step number 1, put these things in. Imagine at the beginning of the year that you've highlighted these dates alongside important birthdays, anniversaries, personal development. So you're giving yourself that moment to be really present to the big and small stuff. We put that in first because we want our business to work around it. So action tip number 1, blank calendar. And as you map out your calendar, start with the moments that matter. Lock them in first, because these are the time that at the end of the day fuel our purpose and give deeper meaning to the work that we do. The second thing I then put into my calendar are my self-care rituals. And this is something that I started doing about 5 years ago. And I think it's something that most of us overlook. You know, how many times have you said to yourself, oh my gosh, I need to get in a hair appointment, or oh my God, I need to get in that dentist appointment. I actually lock in these self-care rituals. Now, I know this term self-care gets thrown around a lot, but this isn't about, or it doesn't have to be about bubble baths and spa days, although I'm all for that too. Self-care is about taking care of the CEO of the business, the machine of the business, and that's you. It's about the self-care to look after you because you are making everything else possible. So for me, what goes into my calendar is I schedule in my fitness routine. I schedule in short weeks. I schedule in every 90 days reflection time so I can reflect on the last 90 days and start planning out my next 90 days. I schedule in, those moments to disconnect and recharge. And what also goes in here is my hair appointments for the year, my massages, and I put in dinners with friends. So I literally put in this self-care stuff, the stuff that makes me happy, that makes me feel good, the stuff that is important to my soul in terms of connecting with girlfriends and friends. So that goes in. In my mind, these aren't nice to haves. They're essentials. And I see it as similar as regular maintenance on a car. You wouldn't drive a car for thousands of miles without oil changes, without checkups, without checking those tires. It's the same as you. So put those in. Think about what you need to be your best. What is it physically, mentally, spiritually that will ensure that you are your best at all times? One thing I do is I build in email-free moments. I build in moments that give me pause. And as I said, I make sure I put in that time to plan, to reset, to really ensure that I'm keeping the momentum going in my business. So the tip here is to start small. We want to avoid burnout. Start small. Maybe it's a 10-minute morning routine. Maybe it's one day off every quarter, so you've got a long weekend to yourself. Maybe it's a commitment to move your body, to go to the gym, to do your 10,000 steps. Whatever it is, put it in your calendar as if it were a client meeting, because actually the truth is you are your most important client. So we put in our self-care, we put in our important personal dates. The third thing, it's all about structuring my work to support my life. So once I have my life and self-care mapped out, then I look at my work commitments. It may be existing client work that I've got committed. It may be conferences that I've already agreed to speak at. It may be projects that I've already committed to. I look at my work, but here's the trick. I don't just stack back-to-back meetings and endless tasks. What I do is I start putting in the space within my workday. The beautiful Donna McGeorge, who's the author of 25-Minute Meetings and One Day Refund, talks about this very thing, about trying to build space into our calendars. If we don't put it in, it will never happen. So what are the rules for yourself? What is the space between meetings? What is the space when you travel and you turn up in another state or another country? At what time of the day are you going to travel? I create that space from the get-go so that I add in the time into my calendar for preparation, for travel, if I'm on the go, for decompression. And it's like I'm giving myself permission to breathe. It can make all the difference. It's ensuring that I don't get to the end of the week exhausted, but I'm planning my week with those hacks through the day and the week that are going to keep me performing at my best, keep me energized. I was recently working with a client who was frustrated by her lack of energy and productivity. And when we actually looked at her calendar, what we actually saw, and I think many of us get to this point, what I actually saw was her calendar was jammed with meetings. She was scheduling meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting with no transition time. So actually by the end of the day, her to-do list had got way bigger. And the only time she could actually do any work was in the evening or at weekends. So I suggested a change. And that was a simple one about scheduling meetings with a 15-minute buffer. And you know what? No one noticed the difference, but her energy skyrocketed. This simple shift allowed her to be more present in each conversation. Imagine your day as a book and every page is crammed with text edge to edge. How hard would it be to read that book? You'd really quickly get overwhelmed, wouldn't you? But with a little spacing, with some extra returns between paragraphs, with a little bit more white space, it quickly becomes much easier to read and more digestible. It's the same for you. You've got to give yourself some margin, some space in your calendar. So before you start adding loads and loads and loads into your calendar, look at your calendar, think about those hacks, those spaces, those moments in your day and your week and put them in. Try adding a 10-minute transition time between meetings and tasks and see how it feels. Maybe if you have a full day of meetings, or you've got a big strategy day, you start later the next day. Maybe if you're traveling interstate, instead of kicking off the next day with early morning meetings, you put a rule in that you're not going to start meetings until 10 o'clock. Whatever it is, put those buffers in your calendar now so that you can start becoming more aware of when those buffers are being eaten into. So we've done those first three things. We've done personal, we've done self-care stuff, and now we've looked at how work can support your life. The final piece then is building a business around your life. Now, this is where we move from designing life first to actually structuring our business to support it. This shift isn't just about where and when you work, but it's about how you work so that you're not only productive, but you're also profitable, because we want to make sure that you are building a scalable and profitable business without sacrificing the life that you're working so hard to build. So step number 4 is all about making profitability a non-negotiable. And one of the biggest mistakes I see so many entrepreneurs making is they let profitability fall by the wayside. You can be busy, even wildly productive, but it's not profitable if it won't sustain you. Profitability isn't just a goal, it's a non-negotiable part of running a business that supports your life. So here's a simple formula I use that's changed the way I work, and it's also one that I know my client-facing clients use every day too. So what I do is I now look at my calendar and look at the spaces that is left. I calculate for the year ahead how many client-facing days I've got left. So I look at my entire calendar. I look at how many days are left that I can sell. Now, once I know how many days I've got left that I can sell that can become client-facing, I look at my target revenue for that year and I divide that target revenue by the days that I've got left. And guess what? That gives me my target day rate. This day rate becomes a game-changing number because knowing your target rate means that you can confidently say yes to the projects that align with your goals and no to those that don't. I've stopped filling my calendar with clients who drain me or work that doesn't align. This enables you to say no to work that isn't necessarily supporting that business life integration. And it's about making sure that you start pricing yourself accordingly based on your capacity. You know, I remember one of my early clients who was constantly underpricing her services, thinking that lower fees would help her gain clients, but actually it totally backfired. She was overwhelmed with low paying work and she couldn't keep up with her clients and her life outside of work. She was working every single hour God sends, and she was absolutely exhausted because she wasn't able to do the very things that would fuel her herself. She was doing the long hours, she was working at weekends. And when we recalculated her rates based on this formula of taking your target annual revenue and dividing it by the actual number of days you've got left, she had a light bulb moment. She put her prices up, and within 6 months, she was working fewer hours, she was earning more, and she was actually enjoying the business that she has built. So try that formula for yourself. Figure out your target day rate and adjust your prices and projects accordingly. I've actually got a framework called the pricing formula. If you check out the show notes, I'll put the link in there, and that will help you get crystal clear on what you need to charge to reach your goals. So the key here is to start designing your life today. Start designing next year today. If you only take one thing from today's episode, let it be that. Start designing your life first, then let your business serve that life. Imagine a life where you're not just squeezing joy into the cracks, but where joy is built right into your daily routine. This isn't about being successful by someone else's standards. This is about you living fully and purposefully by your standards. This is about business and life by design. And here's my question for you. What could your life look like next year if you could choose to build it that way? Thanks so much for joining me on this episode. I hope today's episode has given you some insight and some thoughts into how you can actually get back in control of your life and your business versus your diary being in control of you. I'm Janine Garner, and as always, it's an absolute honor to be part of your journey. If you're ready to dive deeper, if you're looking for more support to make next year your best year yet, let's connect, because I'm here to help you with any speaking engagements, team training, or even one-to-one via my Elevate or Inner Circle Mastermind. Reach out and let's map out the life first business that truly serves you. Until next time, here's to a life lived with intention, joy, and purpose. Let's flip that script together, design your life first, and build a business that absolutely enhances it. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next time.